Hey Paul, I'm Propagandist. Welcome back to the channel for some more Let's Watch / reaction content. Now, we're doing something a little different for this video, as you can tell from the title. So, whenever I do sort of Let's Watches / reactions on this channel, so far they've mainly been sort of like animated shows, so Ruby, Lackadaisy, and most recently Murder Drones. But for a while now I've been thinking about maybe also doing a bit more sort of Let's Watch content, a bit more widely, apart from just animated shows. And I've been in particular thinking about maybe some more factual, sort of documentary style content as well. And as you can tell from the title of this video, today we're going to be doing a Let's Watch of a video called The Ocean is Way Deeper Than You Think. Now, something I would just like to stress before we get into this is not going to be a blind reaction. I have actually watched this video before, and I kind of wanted to do a bit of content on it because the thing is, if you religiously watch any of my videos from my Strategist channel, which is where I do a lot of gaming content, if you religiously watch any content over there, you probably will be aware that I am a big lover of all things maritime / nautical. I absolutely love the sea. I think it's a fascinating subject to talk about. And the thing is, that really kind of goes back to when I was a young kid, because when I was a kid I had a fascination for things like sea creatures. The lighting on my webcam is just going down because I think a cloud just passed over the sun outside, so hopefully that doesn't affect the footage in any way. No, as I was saying, when I was a very, very young kid, I had a fascination with the sea, the ocean. And, I used to have big sort of books about things like sea life, about fish, different kinds of creatures that live in the sea, as well as other stuff. I had like more general sort of kids' books about everything to do with the nautical environment, so like ships and shipwrecks, things like this. And, certainly when I was a kid, for example, I used to love pirates and anything to do with that. And, that interest in all things nautical has really persisted into adulthood, and so as an academic, my kind of research areas of interest essentially are still centred around the maritime. I'm kind of interested in things like maritime security, naval power, things like that, as well as just, still interested in the ocean more in general. So that's why I really actually wanted to do a reaction to this particular video. So granted, it's not going to be a blind reaction, like I said, but I'm hoping that actually that will be still quite interesting for you to watch, because what I'm probably going to do throughout this video is I might pause quite often as it raises interesting points, because there's certainly a lot, I could potentially talk about in relation to the nautical space. I mean, the thing is, like, the ocean, a lot of people who I see on YouTube, whether people who've reacted to this video already, or, for example, like gaming YouTubers who've done games like Subnautica, stuff like that, a common thing among them is that they all absolutely fear the ocean, and they're all afraid of it. And yeah, the ocean can be a scary place, admittedly, but the ocean can also be a very beautiful place, and it can be a fascinating place. I've always kind of said to people whenever I talk about the ocean that, the ocean is kind of the one big refuge on Earth of everything that is kind of prehistoric, antediluvian, kind of primordial, everything that to us is so very alien. But it's precisely that kind of very alien quality that makes the ocean so fascinating to me and makes me just love it so much as a subject just to learn more and more about. So without further ado, let's actually just get to the video. I'm kind of looking forward to this. Got my Sony Nevermind t-shirt ready once again, recording this actually straight after I recorded Murder Drones episode 5. So, that's enough guessing from me. Let's actually just get to the content. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
The ocean is really, really deep.
Understatement.
Deeper, in fact, than most of us realize. If you were to shave off all of the land from the tops of every continent and island in the world and fill up the ocean's deepest points with that land, then the entire Earth would be covered in an ocean 2 miles deep. 3/4 of our planet is already covered in water, though, and it goes a lot deeper.
So, yeah, I said I was going to be pausing frequently, and, so it says here 75% of the world looks like this, and that's no real understatement, that. I mean, the thing is, like, technically the sort of statistic varies slightly depending on what source you're reading, but, coming from the academic field, talking about, a lot of things about maritime security, you read, for example, like government publications when they publish things like strategies about what they're going to be doing in the maritime space, so like maritime security, defence of the country, things like that. Usually the estimates are always very similar, so it usually ranges in like the region of 70 to 80%, something like that, around about there. And one of the reasons why I'm just obviously interested in the ocean is because when you think about your day-to-day life, and you think about just all the little things you do, like the clothes you wear, the consumer goods and products that you use throughout your life, and you think about where did these things actually come from, and then you think, okay, a lot of them probably originated in another country entirely. Like you look at the labels in your clothes, for example, it probably says like, made in China, something like that. Or, if you have a car, it might be like a German car or a Japanese car or something like that. Your mobile phone may have been produced in a plant somewhere in East Asia or America or somewhere, who knows. And in the meantime, when you go and have your lunch, you might be eating food that's been imported from Africa or somewhere in Europe, like Spain or Italy or France. So yeah, when you think about where a lot of the stuff you enjoy in your day-to-day life actually comes from, and then you think, how does it actually get from its point of origin to, my house, my home, where I am right now? Well, the thing is, the overwhelming majority of that trade and commerce goes by sea, because it can be moved in bulk via shipping. And, it's something which, as an academic, I would sometimes talk to students about it, and it's something that often I find many students, particularly undergraduates, have never really thought about all that much. But it goes to illustrate why maritime security is a very particularly important subject in today's world. So yeah, sorry, there's a little bit of an aside, but expect many of these little pauses as I interject things throughout this video. Let's keep going. 1, 2, 3, go.
Deeper than just 2 miles. Let's start with a sense of scale. This dot right here is the size of an average human. This slightly larger dot is the size of an elephant. And this is the size of the largest ship ever built, the Knock Nevis.
Okay, sorry, already pausing again. Knock Nevis. Is Knock Nevis still the largest ship ever built? I can't remember what year this was, that this was uploaded. I think it might still be, but having said that, there are some real big bloody ships out there under design at the moment. What's the one, there's a cruise liner that's under construction at the moment, or it either is under construction or it's just been floated. I think it's Royal Caribbean, the cruise liner. I can't remember what the name of it is. It's like Illustrious of the Seas or something like that. Hang on, I want to see if I can actually find this. If I go like this, Illustrious of the Seas, is it called that? No, that's not the name of it. Crap. Let me just try checking. Is it like Royal Caribbean? Icon. Is it Icon of the Seas? Yeah, it's like if you look at the pictures of like Icon class cruise ships, they are bloody massive. Yeah, Project Icon. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page of it at the moment. Formerly Project Icon, plane class of cruise ships ordered by Royal Caribbean International. Plans to have 3 of those by 2030. They are bloody massive. So crazy. Like some ships today, they're practically like floating cities. But yeah, sorry. I remember as a kid always having big books on ships of the world and just how big they are, things like that. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
And in mind, let's start going underwater and see what we find out. The first milestone is at 40 meters below the surface, which is the maximum depth allowed for recreational scuba diving. A little further down at 93 meters is where the wreck of the Lusitania was discovered, which is interesting because the Lusitania itself is 240
sunk
meters
in World War
long,
I.
which means that it sank in water shallower than it is.
Yeah, there you go.
So if the ship was standing on its stern or bow, it would be sticking out of the water. Just slightly deeper than that, at 100 meters, is where diving can become seriously fatal if you're not careful because of decompression sickness.
The bends, yeah.
Stop a man named Herbert Nitsch
if you
to
surface
accomplish
too
the
quickly.
free-diving world record at a depth of 214 meters.
Now these are interesting.
This guy swam down to this level with just one single breath. But a little further down at 332 meters, we have the scuba diving world record, which was accomplished by another man named Ahmed Gabir. If he had swam down another 111 meters, then he would have reached the height of the Empire State Building if it was submerged underwater. And a little further than that, at 500 meters below the surface, we arrive at the maximum dive depth of blue whales, the largest creatures on the planet and also the limit of the US Seawolf class nuclear submarine.
Just going to pause again. About sort of blue whales. Has anyone ever played the video game Abzu? It's a great game. Short game, available on Steam for all you PC gamers out there. Played it over on my Strategist channel, and it is one of my favourite games. It always reminds me of, that bit about the blue whales just sort of reminded me of when I did my Abzu playthrough, and there's the scene where your little diver character, you swim out of a cave and there's just the giant blue whales there, and that game is an absolute work of art. It's always worth playing if you're into sort of more sort of environmental storytelling, that kind of thing. It's also very colourful visuals. It's a beautiful little game, so I'd wholeheartedly recommend it. Right, so Seawolf class submarine of the US, that's where we're up to, nuclear deterrence and all that. I can't remember, Seawolf, I couldn't think of it, was Seawolf an SSBN or was it an SSN? Sorry, those are naval terms. An SSN is a attack submarine that's powered by a nuclear engine. Whereas an SSBN is a nuclear-powered submarine that is also equipped with ballistic missiles for intercontinental strike. Sorry, here comes the naval nerd in me coming to the fore here. All right, 3, 2, 1, resume.
At 535 meters, we can witness the maximum dive depth of emperor penguins. And this
First time I watched this, it did surprise me
of water pressure.
how deep emperor penguins go.
Water pressure exerted on a person or the penguins would be roughly equivalent to a polar bear standing on a quarter. So further down the depths, at 830 meters, would be the height of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the tallest building in the world. Once we hit 1,000 meters below the surface, we begin to enter the scary zone.
Here we go.
The
lovely
no
stuff.
longer reach beyond this point, so the rest of the ocean below is shrouded in permanent...
So, just a quick aside, this is why I say, when we get to this part of the ocean, this is why I often say that the ocean is the one big refuge of everything that is primordial and prehistoric on Earth. Because, I'm sure you've seen pictures of deep-sea animals, deep-sea fish, and how utterly strange some of them are, like a very different type of life to what we know here on the surface. Okay, 3, 2, 1, resume.
Darkness. On top of that, the water pressure you would experience at this point would be about the same as if you were standing on the surface of the planet Venus, meaning that you would die very quickly. You would also meet the giant squid.
Of course, recording this not long after the...
already kill you.
What was the name of the submersible
meters, we reach the
that
dived to by the leatherback sea
was diving on the Titanic
at
recently?
1,828 meters, we would reach the deepest part of the Grand Canyon, were it to be underwater with us. Down at 2,000 meters, we start to encounter some of the more terrifying sea creatures, like the ominously named black dragonfish, a carnivorous beast with a stomach that doesn't allow light to be emitted through it. Meaning that since we're in total darkness underwater at this point, the only way you would ever see this thing is with a flashlight. A little further down,
Little
at
creepo.
250 meters, we would reach the maximum depth dived to by both sperm whales and the very frightening colossal squid. Sperm whales often have sucker marks and scars left on their bodies from battles with the colossal squid that likely take place at these incredible depths.
Pause time. Has anyone seen the video footage that emerged in the last last couple of months or two, taken by, I think, Japanese divers who actually encountered a giant squid, and sorry, not a colossal squid, but a giant squid, because giant squid are very reclusive creatures, and there haven't been many sort of documented cases of humans ever being able to see them. So, especially, let alone having a case where human divers are in close proximity to one of them. But last couple of months, if you haven't seen it already, a bit of footage did come out of a couple of divers who found a giant squid and actually swam with it, and you can sort of tell by watching the footage that the squid in question is probably quite old and it's probably diseased, because its skin seems to be sort of flaking and peeling, and it just seems to be very sluggish in the water. So probably an animal that was on its last legs, probably dying. But yes, there was a time when giant squid were when their existence was not really known or not really proven, but it's only really in recent decades with modern science and technology that we've been able to really sort of verify that they do in fact exist. They are a real thing. 3, 2, 1, resume.
The squids themselves can grow to be 14 meters long and weigh up to 750 kilograms, with eyes the size of a dinner plate and razor-sharp sickles in the middle of their tentacles. So yeah, good luck with that down
Sorry, I'm pausing again already. Speaking of squid, I must say, if there's one sort of branch of animals that I do find quite fascinating, it is cephalopods. The whole sort of I don't know if you call it like the family or whatever, but essentially that's all sort of group of animals that include squid, cuttlefish, octopi, and they're fascinating, of course, for their intelligence. And just looking at like the picture there of the squid suckers with the little sort of claws in them reminds me a bit of obviously the Humboldt squid. If you've never seen sort of pictures or documentaries about them, so Humboldt squid, they don't grow anywhere near to the size of obviously a giant squid, but they are still pretty big. I think, for example, male Humboldt squid can grow up to something like 2 meters long, something like that. And they're a fascinating species because, they go about in sort of big packs, and there's like documentary footage of them sometimes cannibalizing on their own members, things like that. Very strange. But they're such an alien life form because, they, like many cephalopods, they have that ability to sort of change the colour and texture of their skin to sort of create patterns, things like that. And probability is that's kind of like a communication means, but sometimes their behaviour can be a bit unpredictable. So sometimes, like, if you sort of go diving with them, sometimes they can be very sort of curious, but sometimes they can become a little bit aggressive, especially if they're hungry. But I mean, that's the same advice really, I think, with any large marine-based predator. You're in its domain, so you treat it on its own terms, basically. All right, 3, 2, 1, resume.
Way further down at 3,800 meters, we can find the wreck of the RMS Titanic.
Speaking of the Titanic,
A bit past that, at 4,000 meters, we start to enter the abyssal zone of the ocean. Water pressure is at an astonishing 11,000 pounds per square inch down here, and there are numerous strange, almost alien-like creatures that inhabit these depths, such as the fangtooth, anglerfish, and viper.
These beauties.
Down at 4,267 meters is the average depth of the ocean, where you would normally
Average.
expect to hit the floor.
That's the key word to note there.
Significantly deeper than even this. At 4,791 meters rests the wreckage of the battleship Bismarck. Here in World War II.
Yes. Bismarck is an interesting story. Obviously in World War II, British Royal Navy expended a lot of time and effort trying to track that ship down and destroy it. Because one of the ships that Bismarck actually sunk was HMS Hood, which I believe was, quite an older ship in the Royal Navy at the time. And of course it was quite a sort of psychological blow to the Navy to lose a ship like that. So yes, along with its sister ship, the Tirpitz, British, we expended a lot of energy trying to destroy them, which we did in the end. But like Tirpitz, for example, the Bismarck's sister ship, that one, we actually tried a lot of measures to sink that one. So it was like attacks on it by like X-craft, which were like mini submarines rather, attacks on it from the air, things like that. It took several tries to actually sink it. But Bismarck, yeah, fantastic story. Well worth a read up on. 3, 2, 1, go.
And way down at 6,000 meters is the beginning of the Hadal Zone, named after the underworld Hades itself. The water pressure down at these depths can become 1,100 times what you would experience way back on top at the surface, which is roughly equal to an elephant balancing on a postage stamp, or a single person carrying the weight of 50 Boeing 747 jumbo jets. Down at these depths, you would be crushed immediately without any outside protection, but life still exists down here in various strange forms. At 6,500 meters, we reach the maximum depth that the DSV Alvin can dive to, a popular research submarine that helped to discover the Titanic.
Something interesting, when I was a kid, I mentioned obviously I had lots of books about the ocean and all things to do with the maritime, and I remember certain books I had which had sort of drawings, illustrations of deep-sea submersibles that were designed specifically for exploring the depths, like Alvin, Trieste, bathyspheres, that kind of thing. So human ingenuity knows no bounds, ladies and gentlemen. 3, 2, 1, resume.
Way further down at 8,848 meters below the surface, and we have arrived at the height of Mount Everest, were to be upside down and placed underwater. And then way further past even that, at 10,898 meters, we arrive at the depth reached by James Cameron in 2012 during the DSV Challenger mission.
He did indeed. He went down to the Challenger Deep, which I think is like the deepest known part of the ocean in the Pacific. And I think he, if I remember correctly, what he said afterwards was, but it's it's kind of very barren down there at that point. There's not a lot to actually see, not just because obviously it's dark, but because of course you're at a point of the ocean where the water pressure is so severe that any life that there is down there is highly specialised, evolved to live under those conditions. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you look at the picture of that submersible that he used to go down there. It's like a tiny little cramped thing. So imagine, you know, being cooped up in that for however long it takes to get down there, and just having to sit in that one position for ages. You know, you've got to be dedicated to the science of oceanography and things like that to be able to, you know, stomach that ride. But yes, 3, 2, 1, resume.
The deepest point in the ocean yet reached by humans was back in 1960, though, when 2 men named Don Walsh and
Trieste.
Jacques Picard reached a depth of 10,916 meters using their Trieste
There you
submarine. It took them 5 hours to descend through the ocean to this depth, and they only stayed for 20 minutes before a window cracked and they began to resurface.
I'll make you have a bit of a panic attack.
There at 10,972 meters, and we reached the average flight altitude of a commercial airliner. So if you've ever looked out of a window while on a flight and looked down to the ground, that's a very good sense of how incredibly deep down into the abyss that we are currently at. Finally, when we hit 10,994 meters, we have hit the bottom of the known ocean.
The known ocean? Oh yeah, no, it's Challenger
right
Deep,
here
yeah.
on this map, just about 300
I was right.
meters southwest of Guam Island. However, it is believed that there are almost certainly even deeper parts of the ocean than this that just haven't been discovered yet. It wasn't until 1997, after all, that the Sirena Deep was discovered with a depth of 10,732 meters, making it the second deepest known point in the ocean. It is estimated that only about 5% of the ocean's floor has been accurately mapped, leaving the other 95% to
Yes,
be
a lot to discover.
It may be only a matter of time before an even deeper part of our ocean
This is where it gets quite comical.
may discover there.
Yes, sure. Cthulhu. Oh, sorry, don't want a friggin' advert for EVE Online, thank you very much. Yeah, I was about to try and pause that video before it ended there. But, yeah, well, there you go. That was The Ocean is Way Deeper Than You Think, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just have a jump cut here and I'll give you some final thoughts. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is, you know, why I find the ocean so fascinating as a subject, and I love reading about it, I love studying it. It's so great. You know, it reminds me I have books that I want to read, actually, on very sort of ocean-related topics. I really need to get around to it. I've got a book on my bookshelf, actually, about, I think it's about the Tongans, the sort of Empire of the Pacific. Very much a maritime empire spread out, colonising islands in the Pacific and all that. So I definitely want to get a read of that at some point. But, God, yeah, I mean, you know, I wanted to sort of make this one of the first kind of factual videos that I reacted to here on the channel, just because it's such an interesting one. And I would invite, you know, anyone watching this, if you know of any other good sort of short, like little sort of documentary / factual videos like that about the ocean, anything to do with the maritime or, you know, nautical history, anything like that, feel free to recommend them, especially if it's something that, you know, it turns out I haven't watched before, because that'd be good to have a blind reaction as well, maybe. But yeah, sorry for all the pausing in that. Like I say, there are things in there that I would love to talk about more, hence why I paused. So, hope you found that interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because I certainly did. And yeah, I mean, I would love to do more sort of factual reaction content as well. I know this same channel that did this one, RealLifeLore, also has an interesting one about space, which I have watched. It's about the observable. Sorry, I keep clapping my arm like that. I shouldn't do. That's probably quite distracting. They have one about, it's similar to this one about the ocean, but it's called The Universe is like way bigger than you think. So it's a similar subject, just about space instead of the sea. Like with this one, I have seen that one before. So I don't know if I'll necessarily watch it. I mean, if you want to see me do a reaction to it, then sure, just say. I can just do a reaction like I've done now, where it's like doing a Let's Watch, where we just pause every so often if there's any sort of points of interest that we can talk about. So, yeah, let me know in the comments. Do you want to see a reaction to The Universe is Way Bigger Than You Think? Because like I say, it wouldn't be a blind reaction, but it might be something you're interested in which case just tell me. And like I say, any other sort of nautical history, maritime history, interesting sort of ocean related short informative videos here on YouTube, feel free to recommend them to me, and you know, if I get time, I'll have a look at them for Propagandist. So yeah, thanks for joining me then, everybody, and I'll sign off now. So I've already mentioned my Strategist YouTube channel, where I do a lot of gaming content, link down below in the video description if you want to have a look at that. There's quite an eclectic mixture of stuff over there, different types of games, horror, shooter, survival, indie, retro or / older games, things like that. So I'm sure there'll be something over there that you'd enjoy. Other than that, thank you once again everybody, and I'll see you for some more content real soon. Goodbye all.